Welcome to our Trump briefing program. Today, we're diving into some lively political and economic news from across the U.S. and beyond. First up, Florida's minimum wage is climbing steadily to $15 by 2026, thanks to voter-approved amendments, but efforts to lower wages for apprenticeships didn't make it through the legislative hurdles this year. Meanwhile, in Washington, a Democratic congressman is pushing forward with articles of impeachment against President Trump, sparking debate among colleagues about whether this move is timely or just political theater. In the world of online fundraising, House Democrats are fighting back against Republican attacks on ActBlue, their main platform, by pointing out similar concerns with GOP-aligned sites like WinRed and even Trump's cryptocurrency ventures. The political tug-of-war over campaign finance continues to heat up, as both sides scrutinize each other's methods. And over in Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet is tackling a mountain of issues, from energy policies to regional tensions, all while trying to steer the country through economic challenges. Finally, in international news, President Trump made headlines with a surprising meeting in Riyadh with Syrian leader Ahmed al-Sharaa, signaling a potential shift in U.S. policy towards Syria amidst regional power plays. Plus, controversy surrounds Donald Trump Jr., who is defending his business investments against accusations of conflicts of interest, while the tradition of foreign gifts to U.S. presidents takes center stage with the planned $400 million Qatar Boeing jet. That's all for today. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed stories. The Tallahassee Democrat reports that Florida's minimum wage remains at $13 per hour for non-tipped workers and $9.98 for tipped workers, with scheduled increases to $15 by 2026, following a 2020 voter-approved amendment aimed at ensuring a decent living for workers. However, recent legislative efforts to lower wages for apprenticeships and internships, such as SB 676 and HB 541, failed to pass, with the bills being indefinitely postponed as lawmakers shifted focus to the state budget. Meanwhile, Florida's laws also restrict the ability of voters to amend the Constitution, making it more difficult to implement wage increases or other worker protections, reflecting ongoing political debates about wage standards and workers' rights in the state. The Toronto Star details ongoing impeachment efforts by Democrat Representative Sri Thander, who has introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump, citing alleged crimes including corruption and abuse of power. Despite lacking support from party leadership and facing criticism from fellow Democrats who prioritize legislative work over impeachment, Thander persists, motivated by concerns over Trump's foreign trips and potential conflicts of interest. His move comes amid a broader climate of impeachment discussions in Congress, with Republicans pursuing investigations into President Biden and Democrats defending their positions, illustrating the deep partisan divide over presidential accountability and the political utility of impeachment. Yahoo US covers the escalating online fundraising battles between Democrats and Republicans, highlighting how House Democrats are demanding Treasury Department investigations into Republican-aligned platforms like WinRed and Trump's cryptocurrency ventures for suspicious transactions. This counters Republican attacks on ActBlue, the Democratic fundraising platform, which Republicans claim is vulnerable to foreign influence and illegal donations. Democrats argue that Republican platforms are equally susceptible to corruption and foreign interference, emphasizing that both sides' online fundraising mechanisms are under scrutiny. This ongoing exchange underscores the politicization of campaign finance, with each party seeking to expose vulnerabilities in the other's financial networks amidst accusations of influence peddling and election interference. The CBC reports on Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet, highlighting the daunting array of challenges it faces. One significant issue is the shaky status of Canada's electric vehicle (EV) manufacturing strategy, with Honda halting its multi-billion-dollar investments amid tepid consumer demand and retaliatory tariffs from the U.S. under President Donald Trump. Melanie Joly, now heading industry, vows to advocate for auto workers in talks with Honda, signifying the government's effort to salvage the auto sector. Meanwhile, tensions with western provinces like Alberta are escalating, with Premier Danielle Smith calling for a reset in Ottawa's approach and hinting at a potential referendum on Alberta sovereignty. The cabinet also grapples with energy policies, as former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault downplays pipeline expansion, emphasizing maximizing existing infrastructure, while the new Natural Resources Minister, Tim Hodgson, plans to collaborate with industry to foster economic growth. The article underscores the complex balancing act Carney's government must perform amidst internal disputes, energy debates, and U.S. trade tensions, with Carney personally taking charge of managing Canada-U.S. relations through a dedicated committee. The Independent discusses Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's call for President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd. Green's stance, echoed by other MAGA supporters, claims Floyd's death was due to a drug overdose, dismissing the brutality captured on video where Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. This controversial push for clemency comes amid ongoing political polarization and the possibility of a federal pardon, which would only affect Chauvin's federal sentence, leaving his state conviction intact. Minnesota officials, including Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison, strongly oppose such pardons, emphasizing that Chauvin's actions constituted murder and that any federal pardon would not erase his state-level accountability. The article highlights the broader political climate, where figures on the right continue to rally behind Chauvin, with some even claiming he did nothing wrong, reflecting deep divisions over justice and policing in America. Patricia Clarkson's portrayal of Lilly Ledbetter in the film Lily is set against a backdrop of political and social upheaval. The biopic, which chronicles Ledbetter's fight against pay discrimination, arrives at a time when many of her champions, such as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama, are no longer in power, and the legacy of the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act faces new challenges under President Trump's administration. Clarkson emphasizes her approach to the role, choosing to focus on Ledbetter's emotional journey rather than mimicry, aiming to honor her resilience. The film underscores the importance of Ledbetter's story as a symbol of perseverance in the fight for gender equality, reminding audiences that her quiet yet powerful activism paved the way for legislative change. Clarkson reflects on the broader implications of the current political climate, noting that Ledbetter's message about fairness and justice remains vital, especially amid ongoing battles over workers' rights and gender equality, illustrating how individual stories can inspire collective action even in turbulent times. The CNN article vividly narrates a groundbreaking moment in Middle Eastern diplomacy, where U.S. President Donald Trump engaged in a historic meeting with Ahmed al-Sharaa, a former jihadist and the de facto Syrian leader, in Riyadh. This unprecedented encounter, occurring during Trump's Middle East tour, symbolizes a potential shift in U.S. policy towards Syria, with Trump signaling a willingness to lift sanctions and support Syria's regime, despite its long-standing designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. The article paints a picture of cautious optimism among Syrians, who see this move as a possible economic revival and a step toward stability, yet remain wary of the regime's treatment of minorities and ongoing violence. Meanwhile, the geopolitical landscape is complicated by regional interests, with Gulf states eager to reassert influence and Turkey positioning itself amidst the evolving power dynamics, all against a backdrop of tense Israeli-Syrian relations and ongoing Israeli military strikes aimed at preventing Iranian influence through Syria. The Independent's coverage shifts focus to the controversial business dealings of Donald Trump's family, particularly Donald Trump Jr., amid accusations of profiting from his father's presidency. The article highlights the sharp contrast between Trump Jr. and Hunter Biden, emphasizing that while Hunter's dealings with foreign entities have been scrutinized, Trump Jr. defends his own investments in American companies and venture capital, asserting his independence from political influence. It details the rapid growth of 1789 Capital, a firm in which Trump Jr. is involved, with investments in SpaceX and defense-related startups, raising concerns about conflicts of interest and potential favoritism. The piece also underscores the broader issue of the Trump family's extensive business ties, including a proposed $400 million Boeing 747-8 gift from Qatar, which would be the most expensive gift ever received by a U.S. president, illustrating how these financial relationships continue to attract scrutiny and controversy, despite official denials of impropriety. The Independent further explores the tradition of foreign gifts to U.S. presidents, contrasting historic tokens like George Washington's donkey with modern extravagances such as Trump's planned acceptance of a luxurious $400 million Boeing jet from Qatar. It recounts a parade of opulent presents given to past presidents, from elephants and pandas to jewelry and custom bicycles, highlighting how these tokens of diplomacy often reflect complex international relationships and political symbolism. The article underscores the shift from modest tokens to lavish gifts, emphasizing the significance of such exchanges in fostering or complicating diplomatic ties. It also touches on the ethical and legal considerations surrounding these gifts, noting that while some are handed over to national archives, the sheer scale of modern presents, like Trump's potential Qatar jet, underscores the evolving nature of diplomatic generosity in the context of global politics. The Independent reports that House Republicans are proposing a sweeping domestic policy bill, which includes stringent work requirements for SNAP recipients, notably raising the age for able-bodied adults without dependents from 54 to 64, and redefining the age of children considered dependents to under 7, effectively requiring parents of children over 7 to work unless married and living with someone who meets the work criteria. This legislation also mandates that states contribute increasingly larger shares of SNAP costs, from 5% in 2028 to potentially 25%, and to cover administrative costs, which would rise from 50% to 75%. Advocates warn that these measures could severely undermine food security for over 42 million Americans, deepening hunger and poverty, while Republicans remain divided, with some arguing the cuts are insufficient and others fearing impacts on Medicaid. The bill aims to align with broader Republican goals of extending Trump-era tax cuts, increasing oil exploration, and bolstering immigration enforcement, reflecting a contentious political landscape where social safety nets face significant challenges amidst a push for major spending reductions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.